Well, let's get started. I think you're gonna like this topic.
Okay.
It's, if a California bill becomes law, parents will be able to sue big social media companies like TikTok and Instagram for harming kids who've become addicted to those platforms. So critics are warning that the social media giants might stop operating services for anyone under 18 just to avoid this legal risk. So, do we need legislation to protect kids from social media addiction?
I think we do. I think we
Really?
yeah. I think this is kind of a grand social experiment, and we really don't know the long-term impact. We know that kids' brains are still formulating up until like 25, and we also know that specifically, like, they used psychological, like, what is it? Was it B.F. Skinner? Who used to test like animals out and basically give them a reward system to make them addicted, or just to like test and see if that worked. That kind of same approach has been intentionally done.
Even these platforms have done studies and research.
They're like, get more hearts, get more likes, get the algorithm, because their only mission is to keep you on as long as possible. I was just reading last night, I'm sure many people who watch the show have read the book Untamed by Glennon Doyle, and I literally just finished her essay where she was talking about watching her, I believe, 13-year-old son who had a phone, and suddenly it was like the light dimmed out of his eyes.
Oh my God.
And he said he became sullen, he became introverted, and this is a boy who was very like gregarious and out there, and she actually had to take him aside and say, like, I can see that this isn't making you happy. I can see your light starting to dim. And he actually agreed. And so they decided to put the phone away or take social media off the phone. And I think the thing is that it shouldn't always be up to the parents to be responsible for this. I think the designers of these apps need to be held accountable.
Okay, so my question is, I get it, like something needs to be done, and maybe it's not just the parents, but whenever you go through a governmental process, it takes forever.
Right, yeah.
So by the time you pass this through the House or whatever, how many kids are already addicted? And then is this the actual piece of legislation that's gonna work? Remember a few weeks ago I was saying adults will always be slow and dumb. Compared to what kids know. So this particular piece of legislation is for social media platforms that are already clearing 100 million gross per year. TikTok started for 3 years before anyone over 20 knew what it was.
Right.
The kids create, or the kids get onto the social media platforms first. All of them. TikTok, MySpace, RIP, Instagram, whatever. And then at the point where us olds figure it out, that's when it gets monetized and reaches the $100 million threshold. By then, your kids are already addicted. So what is this legislation gonna do to prevent the new platform that's currently launching in 3, 2, 1 that we won't hear about until 2026 that gets your kid addicted? I don't think this kind of, you have to be imaginative to keep pace with tech. This is not gonna do it.
Yeah, absolutely. What I don't like is a lack of accountability. And I know that you're saying we can't blame parents, but for me, I have a hard time not blaming the parents. We're not talking about a drug that you get in the back alley somewhere. We're not talking about something that you get from that guy. This is something that you get for your birthday present, Christmas, your bar mitzvah.
Someone
Here's
buys
a
it for
phone.
you.
You're 9 years old. Oh, my 9-year-old asked for a phone and all of her friends have one, so I bought one for her. But did you put any rules around that phone? Do you take the phone at 7 o'clock and go, that's enough social media for the day, it's in my bedroom, locked in a drawer, and you'll get it tomorrow? Or do you just give your child this phone and let them download all the apps? Are you on those apps? Do you know what's on those apps? And just give them carte blanche?
The problem is that you're talking, yes, in an ideal world, I think many parents would agree that that's what they do in their home, but that requires a lot of investment. If you've got a single parent who's working multiple jobs, I'm just saying that it's a privilege to be able to sit around and monitor your kids' social media and be on top of it. If you are struggling to make ends meet, and you are, I know people like this, you are not going to be able to keep on top of that.
If you're struggling to make ends meet, you cannot afford to give your child a phone with the data service that they're gonna need. So we're talking about, if you're gonna get your kid the phone, I think you have to do the homework. You have to realize what you're giving your kid. How many times have you walked down the street? I've seen this tons of times, where I see a mom with a child in the stroller, the kid's got their tech, and mom's got her tech, and she's pushing that stroller, and everybody's just kind of walking like a mummy.
Well, what if she's doing work?
You really think that's a healthy?
Is it work? We don't know.
Is it always work?
I mean, I know. Listen, I'm going to call myself out there. Like, a part of my job is being online. Like, if I'm not in here physically, I need to be responding to emails. I need to be answering calls. You don't know what somebody's doing on there. I'm just saying, adults have a problem with addiction as well.
Yeah,
like, I will say that as well. You know,
adults definitely have a problem, and I won't pretend to know what it's like to, how old's Jaya?
He's 9. Just
9. I wouldn't pretend to know what it's like to monitor that, or even like the 15 or 16 or 17-year-olds. It would be a full-time job. But I can think, excuse me, to my own experience and think about like dangerous sort of things that we were exposed to a certain degree. Think about tobacco and alcohol. Those are highly addictive. And they are made illegal for teenagers to access. But I don't know about you, but I know some teenagers from my generation who were able to access tobacco and alcohol. Certainly not me. But there were some that get. So it does feel like one of these things. Is the genie out of the bottle?
Can I just throw out this one more thing,
please.
which to me is tragic, which is that every single artist and creator that I know of will tell a story about how when they were growing up, they were bored and eventually they just picked up a guitar. Or they were, in the absence of being, drawn into anything, they discovered that they really were into painting or whatever, fill in the blank here. And I think what the most devastating aspect, and we're not going to know until 10, 20 years from now, is what we might lose out on in terms of creation. I'm not saying that there isn't creativity on social media. There is, for sure. But I think that we're actually missing out on the opportunity for kids to get bored, for kids to discover things, because there's this constant surge. It's like it's like
What's
being
next?
at
What's
a
next?
casino.
Well, yeah.
But that
That's the way they designed it.
The hamster in the wheel.
An interesting question about like how young is too young to be on social media, and like this law is trying to get passed in California, and you have child actors on whatever, Disney and Nickelodeon. So are you not giving them social media accounts? They have to do it as their actual job.
What if it's the responsibility of the create? Like, they are mining our data. Like, again, this is where I go back to the legislation piece. We are constantly getting our data mined for what? We don't get paid out of this.
No, we don't.
We don't get anything out of that kind of relationship they're having. They are taking your kids. Maybe it's just one of those things where, like they're suggesting, an actual age verification that doesn't require, like, you can
the kids are going to figure their way around that.
I don't know. They're saying they're going to do something with that.
The bill proposes that if a company...
Yeah, I was about to say, they'll just create a new app to follow.
That bill proposes if a company removes the addictive features, AKA the algorithms, they won't be part of this group that can be sued, which is kind of, it seems like an interesting incentive until you find out what you had mentioned earlier, that these are all companies who only make over $100 million, and the algorithms are how they accomplish that.
We'll hear about the new app, and it's going to be too late. So what is the immediate fix? I hear you.
To perhaps take that phone, put it in a drawer at 7 p.m. You don't get it till 8 a.m. What's the harm?
Listen, I don't have a kid in that. My kid is not on social media, so but I just feel for the parents who have all the other friends of kids who are on that, and that's the way that they connect today. And they're busy running around doing their lives. I don't know. I don't think it's
I don't think you're going to solve that right here. So.